Thank you very much, Lounge. Let's get into this one, man. This is going to be exciting. I especially like the fact that in Raz's Player of the Week interview that he did with Inspired, when he got to the question, you know, who's underrated, who's overrated, the underrated player that Inspired named was Thanatos, who he's now going up against. So we'll see if he's right.
I also think that's interesting because I think Thanatos is rated quite highly.
Yeah.
So it's like, is he just not hearing that people rate him highly, or is he saying you're rating him highly, but you're not rating him highly enough?
Right, like you're saying he's a 90, well, I think he's a 100.
Exactly.
Or like
so
that, right?
that kind of makes it interesting to me to hear that. Also, fun to note, it is Vulcan's birthday today, so a lot of the C9 guys,
that's what the party hats
exactly,
are for.
They were all wearing the party hats. I was hoping the players were going to wear the party hats on stage. They had the party hats on backstage, but they took them off. It would have been pretty cool to have them over the hat, but happy birthday to Vulcan. He is out here, and we'll see if he can earn himself a good birthday present.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that would probably be the best birthday present, is being able to be the one team that can actually take down FlyQuest so far.
And if you lose, you still get a birthday present, but instead it's depression.
Yeah, it's, well, okay. There's next year, I guess.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how happy of a birthday it is for Vulcan and the C9 guys here as we are through the first half of the bans. It's Cassiopeia, Jace, and Callista banned out by C9, paying some respect over to Quad with that Cassiopeia pocket pick. Then back on FlyQuest side, it's the Poppy, the Talia, and the Yone all banned away. C9 fast to lock in Vi first.
Going to be locking in that Vi, and it's going to be the Rumble here for Bwipo. Ain't no way you're going to Italy with the Rumble, but Rumble definitely is pretty high priority still. It's getting through the picks and bans more, it feels like, but then it's just kind of getting picked more. Excuse me, I should say it's getting through the bans more, and now it's just getting picked a lot more, it feels like, as we've been seeing it pop up a number of times. We have seen the Galio as an answer come out a number of times now as well over these last couple weeks, so it'll be interesting to see if Thanatos wants to go for that angle. Just earlier this week, we saw that Bwipo had that same matchup against Licorice, and Bwipo was able to get the best of him after, you know, he had a nice little outplay there. And so it'll be cool to see if Thanatos wants to bring that out.
Well, Varus remains 100% pick ban, and I don't know if we even have this stat, but I would be curious to know how much of that 100% pick is within the first rotation on either side, because I feel like if he makes it past ban,
I would think probably 100% of it.
Yeah, he's just slammed immediately by one of the two teams, first opportunity they get. But the response, well, once again, I feel like we're just getting this every game, man. Varus versus Ezreal, like these seem to be the premier choices for marksmen. that's pretty good. I'm a sucker for a good "I'm with stupid" joke.
You know?
That's a classic.
Yeah. That's quality right there. It's an oldie but a goodie. Inspired going to be bringing out his Ivern, another oldie but goodie, one of his pocket picks, going to be coming out here. And yeah, I mean, Varus is just so flexible. You can go poke, you can go on hit. It's really strong in lane. It's a solid team fighter. It can give you some engage. It kind of just does everything. Yeah. And you know, it's going to be really high prio as a result. I do think it's interesting because we were talking last game about how much diversity there is in top lane right now and how there's all these different top laners who sometimes don't even have a single overlap pick between themselves and other top laners. And then AD is kind of the opposite, where everyone just plays like Varus, right?
Do you want Varus or Ezreal this game?
Exactly. So AD is definitely in the depths right now, but both of these mid laners are 5 for 5 on unique picks coming into this game. Bwipo was 5 for 5 on unique picks in top lane, so definitely have seen quite a bit of variety. And to be fair, both the ADs actually have 4 out of 5 games played on different champions. So we have now some more overlap here, but still pretty cool to see how much diversity we've had this split.
I just had producers confirm that you were correct. It is 100% of the time when Varus has been picked so far this split, it is always either first rotation blue side or first rotation red side.
It's basically one of those champions that it's just below the must ban tier, and when you're just below the must ban tier, you're always left off that, but then you're just always first picked or first rotation or whatever, you know? It's like, it's not quite strong enough and game warping enough that they feel they need to ban it, but they still will never not grab it.
Right, exactly. It's at the perfect level of A+, that's not quite into the S tier of...
This is interesting as well. Tristana going to get banned out, definitely. This is kind of more of a throwback to what we saw FlyQuest doing with Ivern a ton, where it's Corki Triss, where kind of those mid laners that they would always play, and they play these double AD carries. It's going to be Lucian. Whoa. Is this going to be Varus mid, or is it going to be Lucian mid? I wonder if they're going to like slam a Nami or something and go Lucian, Nami, bot, and then Varus mid. I have seen a little bit of Varus mid, actually, and some people people were doing like AP Varus mid and some kind of wacky stuff. I wouldn't think it would be that because you have Rumble in top lane. I'm still under the assumption that it will be Lucian mid and it'll be Varus bot, but there is the outside chance that they can do kind of a crazy flex here because Varus used to be considered quite a good matchup into Azir because you kind of have that outrange and you can just kind of poke him down. Similar to how people used to play, if you remember, like Vel'Koz and Xerath occasionally against Azir. It's the same kind of thought process. So I wouldn't be completely shocked if they're like, Lucian Nami tricked you and then, do Varus mid, but it could be either or. So we're just waiting, based on now they see what the bot lane is. It is Alistar. What do you want to play into that? What is that final support pick going to be? It is going to be Nautilus. So I am expecting it just to be Varus bot and Lucian mid. Because it wasn't like a Nami Slam or Emilio, like really good pairings, or maybe even like a Braum or something. But definitely an interesting read here. I feel like C9 had them pretty downloaded as far as what they were actually looking for, and I think their second round bans made FlyQuest comp a lot harder to play out because the Corki and the Tristana I do think are a lot easier to play and just kind of like farm and scale and stuff in that mid lane. Lucian kind of has to play aggressive because you're short range when you're playing into champions like Azir. If you just try to play to farm, you're actually just going to get slowly poked out. So you need to trade, you need to be aggressive, you need to be kind of dashing in their face, but that exposes you to being, ganked or roamed on by a Vulcan or Blaber who are playing Vi and Alistar. And if you miss position at all, you're kind of going to get one shot. You can't just sit back and auto attack with long range or spam out spells like a Corki can. So I do think it's a much more difficult draft to play. So I do think C9 deserves some credit for those second round bans.
And C9 also have a lot of engage mechanisms here on this team, right? Like you already talk about the Alistar and the Vi, but Ambessa being able to find a good angle for a public execution, even Azir having the shuffle option if he wants to go full send as he dives in there. So that Lucian is going to have to be careful start to finish in this one.
This is spicy. We also have Electrocute for Thanatos, so I think he's going to go like the full-on lethality Ambessa style and really try to punish a lot of these squishy characters here because there's Ivern, there's Rumble, there's double AD carry. There's some pretty good targets here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Cyclosaur and stuff. My read could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm expecting is that we could get that full lethality style here where he really just tries to lock on one target and pop them instantly in a team fight. It's a really good build to do when there are squishy targets and you have great setup. And because you have the Blaber Vi here, Vi presses R on Quad or Massu or whoever, then you press public execution right thereafter, and you just try to one-shot this guy in the CC. Exactly. And it is also, I think, really makes sense when you're looking over at this inspired Ivern. Because the key to beating Ivern is very frequently being able to actually kill them fast enough that they can't get multiple rounds of shields out, right? You have to hit this kind of overwhelming amount of damage where Ivern throws up one shield and then their AD carry just instantly dies. And when we're talking about Ivern, we got to talk about this matchup here. It's the match of the jungle goats. Blaber definitely looked at as the best North American jungler ever. Inspired coming in here. Both of these guys are so accomplished, have so many titles. And Inspired has one MVP here. He's won MVP in EU. Blaber has won 2 MVPs here, has been first team All-Pro 7 times in the LCS, now LTA, which is pretty incredible. And these guys are kind of battling it out. Blaber for a long time, it was just a given that he was the best jungler here. But with River joining and Inspired joining, we got some really powerful junglers that he is now competing with and having to, once again, kind of prove himself and fight for that title at the top.
Yeah, there was multiple years there where the conversation was just like, okay, who's the NA jungle go? It's Blaber or Xmithy. And, people would argue back and forth on that. And then Inspired has really just been the guy who sets the standard for just high-level jungling in North America here for the past couple of years. So definitely fun to see these two go head-to-head. We'll see who can manage to get the better of the jungle pathing in this one, especially with the state of the mid lane like you're talking about, with Lucian being this very unusual pick, at least for the current metagame in League of Legends, and having to play aggressively. I expect both junglers to be paying plenty attention to this. I mean, look at how far up Quad is already.
Yeah, exactly. And we have Inspired here. He's going to go split map. They did ward this out, so now I'm curious to see what Blaber's response is going to be. He's not going to look for a counter invade, so he's just moving over towards his wolves. So we'll be down that one camp as Inspired going to be able to steal away the enemy blue there and then just go back to his side and take down his own camps. So he's going to be feeling pretty good about that. But something... as this should disengage. Something else I wanted to talk about is the improvement we've seen from Loki and Blaber as a duo. I really felt like in week 1, you know, Loki had some struggles, but we have seen these guys come together and really be playing incredibly well. This Sylas game, the Sylas Poppy game,
was really good.
Was so good. They were so on point with how they were actually using the synergies here. They steal the Azir ult mid, the flash stun into it, and then this was actually really difficult to pull off. He scoops him back, not even straight into the wall, then stuns him with the Abscond Duct into a flash Poppy stun into the wall. Like, everything CC chained perfectly on a Gnar that was about to mega out, and if you mistime that and don't pull it off, then he goes mega, and you probably just die. It gets turned around on, or at least fails there. But they were so on point with those engages and with those combos, and that was always kind of one of those C9 hallmarks, is that they really played aggressive and they were really on point with that synergy, so it's nice to see them developing that.
Okay, Thanatos continuing to play aggressive up here on the top side, does have Bwipo down to 100 HP,
Blaber's
but Inspired has decided to show his face. Both junglers ready to join the battle, and as soon as they see the enemy, Bwipo and Inspired have to try to fall back. Bwipo still only at 100 HP. Inspired going to be taken very low. The Ambessa going forward. It's first blood over to Thanatos.
That was so close. Really well played on both sides. Blaber flashes early to try to flash past, then get range for the Q onto Bwipo. So Inspired flashes defensively to block his path so he could not get that Q onto Bwipo and get the immediate kill. Loki having to flash out there, but both teams really playing around cooldowns well. Thanatos kiting out to get those rounds of cooldowns back up on the Ambessa. He had that early trade, but the early Ambessa cooldowns are very long here, and so you have to be able to play around that. And Cloud9 able to pull it off expertly. This was just so nicely done. You know, Thanatos gets this really early trade here. This is very powerful. This Tri-Brush ward, though, does give them pretty early warning. He chunks him down, he procs the Electro, but then he knows, okay, I need to buy time here for Blaber to arrive. So he gets back into the bush, he's just kiting back. Bwipo flashes in, Thanatos response flashes. He flashes past the Q to try to get this on him, and then Inspired very clearly flashes back in response to block the Q coming through, so it couldn't get on Bwipo. Bwipo overheats, so he looks for the turn, but he doesn't quite have the damage to follow it up to finish him off. That was a game of inches, and that was both sides, I think, playing it so incredibly well. That's just beautiful to see.
Yeah, they were both playing it all the way up to the line, and it was just by that smallest sliver that Cloud9 ended up coming out on top. But they'll be happy to have that early lead, especially with what you're talking about. If Thanatos wants to go for this very aggressive Ambessa style, getting ahead early is going to provide so much threat as we start to get into bigger skirmishes.
Yeah, and it looks like he is going to go for an early Hexdrinker here, just based off the null, unless he just wants to sit on that. So he may not be going for that build, but definitely going to be aggressive. Blaber here is going to get contested.
Yeah, we got FlyQuest bringing down the three-man party, but Vulcan defending Blaber on this one. They do not want to oversend on the FlyQuest side, so Blaber secures it.
Inspired had no smite, so you know, they decide we're not going to go for it. There's no point in trying to risk something here and getting that turned around on. Bwipo down towards that bottom side here on the Rumble. Likely to be able to absorb pressure in a 2v1 better. Of course, it is just a 1v1 up on the top side for now. With Thanatos now taking over to level 6. Massu's still 4, so he's got to be pretty careful until someone is around him. If you overcommit, you definitely can get punished. Quad doing well in that 1v1 so far, just continuously putting this pressure onto Loki.
And I like the fact that Busio is looking to do something about that mid lane too, since Loki already had to spend the flash earlier. I mean, after we got done seeing the top lane 2v2, the camera pans mid, and Loki's down to one auto attacker. He's dead. So really nice early pressure from Quad. There hasn't been any punish yet on it, so he continues to play that aggressively. And FlyQuest are going to go ahead and start up these grubs. They've already earned the first two, and C9 doesn't seem to be ready to challenge for the third.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanatos is going to be clearing out this wave. He knows that they were over on the grubs, and then now he can just try to play safe here. Zven not going to be in too much trouble here, I think, unless he really overextends, but you do have to respect that damage coming through.
Yeah, Bwipo's going all the way for it. Okay, can't go any further. I think that if Bwipo has flash there, he maybe can try to, like, full send it, go for the kill, but without the summoner spell, and Zven still having both of his on a champion that just last game we were reminded exactly how slippery full summoner spells Ezreal can be, you just don't want to risk it.
Yeah, exactly. And Zven, obviously a very good Ezreal player here. This was him last time versus FlyQuest. FlyQuest had a really good performance, 13, 4, and 22 on the Ezreal, bringing out here again. I feel like Zven has actually really been stepping it up in Split 2. I think he's been having some very good performances against some of the tough teams. Cloud9 was looking great yesterday as well. And hey, I mean, they're the team that has a chance to catch up to and potentially, pass FlyQuest this weekend. Bwipo, when I talked to him yesterday, was feeling confident about their chances to be able to go for that 7-0. But Cloud9 could stop them in their tracks right here, tie them in the standings, and then own that head-to-head.
And the Zven and Vulcan duo, I think, is one that has a special place in the hearts of a lot of Cloud9 fans. I know a lot of people were happy to see them playing together again. Yesterday, when I was reading through the post-match thread for that C9 game after Vulcan's incredible Bard performance, people were like, see, all Vulcan needed was to be back with his good old buddy Zven, and now they're running the show again. So good stuff yesterday from them. We'll see how well they can keep that up here today as FlyQuest, despite the fact that they went down early with the 1 kill, honestly, the game is still just dead even. The trade for the first Drake, for the first 3 grubs, everything there pretty standard. We aren't going to have any more neutral objectives for a couple more minutes still, but both of them are going to be spawning almost the exact same time.
Yeah, exactly. And these two teams have a lot of history against each other. They have battled time and time again over the years here. And you can see, when FlyQuest came into the league, this is kind of that new FlyQuest era post-logo change. It has been mostly C9 getting the better of them, but in these kind of more recent years, of course, FlyQuest has been getting stronger and stronger, and FlyQuest really rising to the top. And that has been one of those teams that has been looked at as the very best in the league. Of course, outperforming Cloud9 last year and how they did last year, obviously doing very well at Worlds. And this year, again, coming in as one of those heavy favorites, looked at as the title contender, absolutely.
All right, so 90 seconds now until we get that next round of neutral objectives spawning, and it looks like both sides are most concerned about the top half of the map, but you can see Blaber moving down into the bottom lane now, seeing if maybe there might be an additional angle here on Bwipo, but Bwipo has to know that something could be going on here. He knows that his own team is all the way up on the other side of the rift, but now Thanatos misses the public execution. Beautifully sidestepped from Bwipo. They wanted to do that Vi and Ambessa combo, but they don't time it right.
No, what actually happened, it was the Vault Breaker from Blaber bumped him out of it, I think. So he ulted him, and then he had the Vault Breaker follow-up. But of course, if you don't do the Vault Breaker follow-up, Bwipo's going to flash out of it. So they just weren't on the same page, I think, on when the Vault Breaker was going to come through and which direction it was going to bump him. And that is one of those things that is, tough to communicate in the moment, because of course you go in with the ultimate, you get that knockup, but then you have to Q immediately thereafter to keep the CC chain going. And if we watch it one more time, I'm 99% sure that is what happened. He just kind of got bumped out of it, and they weren't on the same page on exactly where he would be getting bumped towards. So unfortunate, because Thanatos also flashed to even get in range. That's 2 flashes, that's 2 ultimates to just get the flash out of Bwipo. Bwipo was playing very respectful, went for a max range equalizer on the wave, and then is able to avoid that gank.
Busio hitting Zven there with the dredge line, but very easy for Ezreal to buffer away from that one. Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to take a look at that replay. It is worth pointing out, you called it correctly earlier, Thanatos going for the early Hex Drinker. Could be building it fully into the Maw, maybe. A lot of times, though, the Hex Drinker will just be its only checkpoint at the start, and then you'll just build towards your more standard stuff. The C9 have decided to start up the second set of grubs. They will secure the first one, but they know that FlyQuest is nearby, and they aren't wanting to overcommit to the rest of the set here just yet. Massu going to make his way back towards the mid lane. As you can see, a ward was placed down in the Drake pit by Bwipo. And here's our replay. Yeah, so
here's the flash ulti, and then I think he Vault Breakers from behind and unfortunately bumps him just out of it. So that is one of those things. It's like, I think a lot of people are going to blame Blaber in this case, but if he does not Vault Breaker there, like if he doesn't use the Q to follow up, there is a gap in the CC chain, and Bwipo can flash it. So I think this is more of like a failure in communication than it is a failure of like one individual player. Some people are going to disagree, but it is one of those moments where you have to really understand what your other teammate is going to do. And had Thanatos maybe waited to actually use the R on the Q knock, then he could have hit it. And likewise, had Blaber maybe communicated that better, maybe they could have actually made it work anyway.
Well, either way, FlyQuest will be happy that it didn't work out any better than it did, and they will now take their opportunity to secure the second Drake of the game. Well, nice. So Drakes are going to be split 1 for 1, and Grubs are going to be split 3 for 3, right down the middle here on the neutral objectives.
Fair is fair, and we are pretty much dead even, so they're splitting the gold as well. Massu, we have not really touched on, is going on hit Varus. We've been seeing mostly poke these days, and he is also playing Ghost, which has really kind of fallen out of favor. But I guess he is thinking, against this kind of comp, the additional move speed might allow him to kind of, kite in, kite out a little bit more. So we'll see how well that does work. It is interesting because generally when I see like buy Ambessa, I'm thinking I'm going to get one shot or I'm not going to get one shot, and barrier might save me. I would be thinking about it more in that sort of term. But maybe his thought process is, with Ghost, maybe I could like sidestep the public execution or sidestep of Allbreaker, or have some sort of outplay in that way. Or maybe he's just thinking, barrier won't save me. So
it's too much damage.
If it all hits, I'm dead anyway, so I'd rather have Ghost.
Ooh, Thanatos going in for the public execution here on Bwipo, but the redemption from Inspired could be the difference maker. Thanatos has to get away now. He's already lost his Hex Drinker, and the support from all the way away from the jungler saves Bwipo.
Yep, nicely done. And the reason, if you're wondering why Bwipo backs off in that spot, is because he is counting basically in his head, okay, when are the cooldowns coming back up for Thanatos? Thanatos pumps out all this damage, and then your time to fight back into Ambessa is immediately after she uses her rotation of spells, because she really doesn't have much coming out after that.
Yeah.
Then as Bwipo is going forward, if he over chases and the spells come back up, he's going to turn right back in around on you, and he's going to finish you off with that second rotation of spells. So that's why Bwipo wasn't over chasing, plus obviously did not have full information on where Blaber could be, and as a result, it is just that kind of trade of abilities, trade of ultimates, and Inspired coming in clutch with the redemption.
Yeah, we've seen a couple attempts from both teams so far in this early game, but man, we're 10 seconds away from plates falling, and there's still only the one kill on the board.
It's also worth noting, for Quad, he's also going a higher DPS build. It's on hit for Massu. I talked about that, but this is not like First Strike Collector, just kind of Spellcaster Lucian. This is Essence Reaver Rush. This is PTA. This is high DPS. And if you do go this build, people generally think about Lucian as something that like doesn't scale as well, but when you go like the Infinity Edge auto attack builds, if you can actually stay in the mix and be able to play the fight well enough to not just get one shot and be in there actually hitting, your damage is crazy and scales very well into the late game. People always obviously going to be referencing players like Ruler and how well they can play out in those situations. So it's not easy to do, but if you can manage it, and you have a better chance of managing it because you have an Ivern in your pocket, it's really powerful. Yeah,
Lucian's one of those characters that scales incredibly high off of player skill and mastery over the champion.
Not a good champion for me.
Yeah, I cannot play Lucian at all. I get Lucian in an ARAM, it is very quick to trade him away.
I'll be playing the Poke Varus, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Give me a tank or something. I don't think I'm an appropriate Lucian pilot, but Quad has been having a good early game here so far. It is a slight gold lead the other way for Loki, so honestly, really nothing to write home about in any of the individual matchups. I mean, the greatest gold lead is the 400 there for Zven's Ezreal, but that's just the cull difference.
Yep, is not a big lead whatsoever, and you can see even though Loki, every time we kind of like watched the mid lane, it was like he was getting chunked out a little bit. He has a nice little CS advantage. He's scaling well. Obviously, nothing really came of that missing flash that Quad was able to force, and this is why I say it's really hard, playing the Lucian in this kind of matchup compared to the Corki or the Tristana. Tristana just kind of scales and has this long auto attack range, and you can kind of just get shielded and walk forward and hit. Lucian kind of has to dash in, like you kind of have to get in there because your range is pretty short, and Corki obviously you can just be scaling up and using spells to clear wave if you're uncomfortable, spamming out rockets in team fights. Yeah. So we'll see how Quad is going to be able to pilot this. It will be impressive if he can pull this off.
Okay, Busio going into the enemy jungle here, but does have to be a little bit careful. Daisy summoned up to try to block some of these spell shots from being able to connect with the Nautilus, but no, it's the full commit from C9, and they've already found the kill into Busio, but now they got to be careful because Thanatos is taking a ton of damage here in retaliation as Vulcan is already down to 100 HP. Support for support traded as the fight continues, and Loki's eating a ton of damage from Quad. Bwipo finishes the kill on Blaber, and FlyQuest gets a 2-for-1.
Yeah, they get that 2-for-1. Nicely done by FlyQuest as Cloud9 tried to look for this play. Even though Busio goes down, I think he actually played this really intelligently. Doesn't even bother flashing out. Instead, on the teleport, he just turns and just roots up Thanatos to set up Massu to get so much damage down on Thanatos. Because with that passive auto, if we watch it back, it sets up the Chains of Corruption and just is saying, I'm going to die here, but I'm not going to waste my summoner, and I'm going to set up my team to get so much damage out that we are then going to win the fight. So in a lot of situations, I think we just see the support flash here, but instead turns, gets the auto down, throws down the ulti that sets up the Chains of Corruption. The ulti is there, timed out really well afterwards, and Massu is free-firing this whole time. Sure, you killed Busio, but the carries were hitting, and that's what really gets the advantage here for FlyQuest in that situation. You can see in the extended fight, though, Quad, after those spells, we're back to live, we're back scrapping.
Yeah, we are not done. Vulcan and Blaber got to try to get away from this one, but no, Blaber has no chance, man. They get the kill over onto Massu's Varus. That'll be Feat of Warfare, claimed by FlyQuest, and now with the enemy jungler dead for 20 seconds, they're starting up the next Drake.
Yep, going to be able to grab a dragon here. Bwipo and Thanatos scrapping it out on that top side.
These two never really stop doing the top lane 1v1 scrap up here. It's fun to watch. I mean, both characters have pretty spammy skill sets that you can just keep consistently trying to trade on pretty quick intervals with.
And when you play a melee champion into Rumble, you kind of have to. Like, you don't really have a lot of options, because when you're farming the wave in their face, you're just going to be getting hit by Flame Shooter. You're just getting poked down. So if you're not trading back, you're just going to slowly get chipped out and get pushed out. So it kind of necessitates these aggressive trades where you're going back and forth and you're trying to, give as good as you take to try to maintain that position in the lane here.
All right, so let's check in on where our itemization is going, because FlyQuest have secured the feats of strength for themselves, so the extra powered boots are going to feel really good. We've already seen the redemption there for Inspired, a big playmaking tool available, and Bwipo's getting closer and closer to second fully completed item as well.
And we're going to get IE second for Quad, so he is working towards that. So he is going, like I said, really high DPS build. This is not Caster Lucian where you just sit back and just pop your ulti and then hope your team wins the fight. You are getting in there with the Essence Reaver in the IE, and we'll see where he wants to go from there. Sometimes people do like the rapid fire. I'm not the biggest fan of the rapid fire. I think like BT in these kind of situations can be quite strong where you're really in the mix, but we'll see where he wants to go as that third item. And Massu, who was the beneficiary of some of these fights, has picked up a couple kills, working towards that Rage Blade. So itemization definitely progressing well on both sides.
2-0-0 for both the Ambessa and the Varus, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to, can Blaber and Thanatos find that combo that we've already spent so much time talking about to pop Massu or Quad right as one of these fights starts up. FlyQuest ready to try to begin the Rift Herald here, but Vulcan and the rest of C9 are ready to challenge. Busio, again, going to be the initial target, but between his own shields and that of Inspired, it's very difficult to kill him. True Shot Barrage will take him down to about half HP, but Daisy is down, so C9 now feeling confident to make their move on the Herald.
And Quad didn't TP, so they made that choice. You know what, we're going to give this up. How much can Quad get from that bottom tower is the question. Will Thanatos actually teleport down there to try to protect this turret? Doesn't look like it, so they are going to be taking the Herald, but they are going to be giving that bottom lane tier 1, which is an interesting trade-off here, because it's, the possibility of a tower for a guaranteed tower, and that gold going to be dumped right into the pockets here of Quad. He's now sitting on 1,500, so he likely has that IE ready to go, or will very, very shortly, and is going to be really strong. There's the IE completion, so he is definitely super strong at this point.
Scary, scary stuff for C9, but hopefully they can get some value out of that Rift Herald take. 2.5 minutes until the next Drake spawns. A lot of times, if you can't do anything else with Rift Herald, we see teams, just like to drop it mid, create a distraction. C9 have done absolutely no damage to the FlyQuest mid lane tier 1 turret thus far. This is going to be like the first time that they can even get the wave crashed into it because of how aggressively Quad was always playing in the mid lane.
I wonder if Thanatos is going to go Serpent's Fang as his next item here. I think it could make a lot of sense. Busio has a shield. Rumble has a shield. Obviously, there's the Inspired shields. There's quite a few shields kind of just naturally in the kits, plus the Ivern. So I do think it would make some sense, and he was on the components. So we'll see if he actually does elect to go for it. And there, he just actually purchased it up. So I think that's pretty cool tech. I think it's actually quite smart in this situation. And lethality, obviously great on Ambessa either way. So we'll see how much value it actually gets throughout this game.
I feel like Serpent's Fang, Ivern is one of the champions that should most often be sending up this kind of big red alarm, you need to build this item. Someone on the team needs to have this to deal with all the shield spamming. Moonstone Renewer now also fully completed for Inspired, so the second one of those thrift store pricing support items that can make Ivern so obnoxious to deal
value.
with. Yeah, and the worst thing is, I'm not even memeing, it is such a great value, and it's what you were talking about earlier. C9, they have to get one of these kills in a very explosive way, or Inspired can keep people alive for a very long time. Bwipo in some danger, flashing away from the Emperor's Divide, Loki and Blaber wanting to get that kill, but Bwipo will commit the summoner to stop it.
Yep, Bwipo just going to let the equalizer go as well. He's saying, you know what, we're not going to mess with that, but that does mean no flash, no equalizer. Loki didn't go for a flash ulti or anything like that, so still a really nice play from C9. Bit of pressure there from Blaber up towards that top side. Allows Loki to get aggressive here and get that little edge.
You could see Busio going for the dredge line there on Vulcan. He only has Inspired near him, so it's not like they were really going to threaten like an all-in type of kill, but maybe you could scare him a little bit, force out the ulti or something similar. Like the Drake is spawning in 30 seconds. And FlyQuest knows, yeah, we just had to lose Bwipo's flash and ulti, so trying to at least get one of those similar resources back. If Vulcan doesn't have Unbreakable Will, he dies instantly as soon as he goes in. And
these are the career stats here for Inspired on Ivern. 80% win rate, 10 KDA.
Not
He's
bad.
Involved in everything, just about 86% kill participation. Has been really successful for him, even internationally, is something that, you know, comes out, gets wins, often then it's going to get spam banned after that. They're like, okay, our bad. It's kind of one of those picks that every once in a while people forget about, and then like, ah, damn it, he got us.
And then you pick up your free win with your Ivern lock-in with the 80% win rate. Like you're saying, Busio goes for the dredge line on Zven, but a nice arcane shift to get the distance back. Busio in danger. Public execution does the job. Loki's grabbing the first kill, but it's immediately traded back as Thanatos drops to the culling. Now the Herald's been summoned up. Loki's trying to run him over, but Vulcan's going to be the one jumping in. Shutdown credit over to Blaber, but he's got to be careful. Vulcan and Blaber both incredibly low, and Quad is looking to keep the aggro on. He's got to be careful. The Emperor's divide. Loki gets the kill. Quad has to flash away back over the wall, and everybody else on FlyQuest is down.
What a fight between Cloud9 and FlyQuest. That was so close on both sides. Really explosive. Quad limps out of there, has 50 health as he's recalling, so it would have been even lower. Blaber almost got the last hit to finish him off, but it was looking like FlyQuest for a moment there would have been able to take the fight as Quad and Massu and Inspired were standing and fighting. They get this initial chunk here onto Massu. Thanatos is coming over. Busio looks for the engage, but it's a great shift from Zven. And then Vulcan here, stepping forward, looks for the combo. I think Vulcan needed to walk forward and block the culling. But we're back to live.
Back to live. Quad's in danger, and Thanatos has already killed him before Busio can provide any protection. The Ambessa damage is absolutely out of control. And the extra shield from the Eclipse keeps him alive. Busio can't get the trade, and now he's going to die as well. That's enemy mid laner down. Enemy support down. Otacon right here on the map, and C9 are having a great few minutes of gameplay.
You know what? Maybe Inspired was right. Thanatos is underrated. Thanatos making it happen there. Gets the pick. Survives as well. Ambessa can be deceptively tanky. You know, when you have that Eclipse shield, plus you have the W shield as well, can really be high value. And those couple of kills are going to mean they grab the Ambessa off the back of this. So Cloud9 now 3,000 gold ahead, even in Dragons, and really starting to pull away on this game. Thanatos just TPs in, and Quad not really respecting. He says, you know what? I can just flash on you. I know you're missing flash from that previous play. He's able to get in there and just straight up burst him down before Busio can arrive. And then even with the equalizer, the presence of mind there to use the W while you're, as he comes out of the CC, then turn back for the final auto to get the Eclipse shield to be able to walk out of that dot. Now they're onto the Baron here. FlyQuest have got to do something.
FlyQuest need to move in and try to stop this, but they're going up against Voracious. Otacon falls life buff. It's so hard to do. Thanatos going to be zoned away here by Quad. Immediately Busio jumps into the fight, but Blaber's into the back line already, and Massu is down. Blaber's still standing and fighting, and C9 is just letting it rip. Inspired and Bwipo trying to get away, but Thanatos and Zven are on the hunt. Inspired's the last man standing, and C9's getting the better of them.
Cloud9 running them over here, looking to be the first team to get a win against FlyQuest this split. Not going to be starting the Baron up immediately, but are going to be going right back to it now. We can watch this fight one more time. Thanatos, great sidestep on the initial hook here from Busio. Was looking for an angle to find that public execution, but couldn't actually do it. They mark him well, they push him out, and then when they go for the engage, he can't actually hit. But on the other side, it's Busio going forward here. Loki, though, sweeps around everyone, catches Massu, knocks him back into the team. The equalizer was good, but not good enough. Even with the public execution missing, it just didn't not matter. Everyone from Cloud9 piles in with the false lives, are able to take down FlyQuest and get the Baron off the back of that. 6,000 is the gold lead now. Cloud9 running away with it.
And I want to go back to what Emily was talking about on the lounge before this, because if everything goes to expectation with C9 and FlyQuest both winning their games tomorrow for the last day of Super Week, for the last day of positioning phase, that means that they would both then be sitting at a 6-1 record. C9 would own the head-to-head against them. That would make C9 the #1 team at the end of this phase, despite FlyQuest kind of being the guys to beat the entire time.
Yeah, I mean, can really flip a script very quickly like that, and Cloud9 definitely looking like they are poised to be able to take this one. We'll see if FlyQuest can find any sort of an opportunity here. A failed engage from Cloud9 still would give an opportunity to FlyQuest because they do have really high DPS with Massu and Quad here.
Okay, Bwipo and Busio holding the line in mid lane, keeping that tier 2 alive, but the problem is Loki and Zven have plenty of damage down there in bottom, so they can immediately force that objective down instead. Equalizer used to try to clear out the wave, but the Baron-empowered minions and all of the extra damage is way too much. Bwipo far too far forward, and into the back line goes Blaber. He's found his target on Massu, but he can't secure the kill. Bwipo is already down, but so is Blaber. 1-for-1 trade there, but now Inspired's about to drop as Zven and Thanatos just do so much damage. Busio's about to die to the burn. Quad unleashes the culling, but it's too little, too late. C9 have already won the fight.
It's just the two AD carries here without any support around them. It's going to be so hard for them to get anything done. They're TPing back in, refilling the health bars. Cloud9 pushing for the Nexus.
C9, they've already got that bot lane inhibitor down. Quad and Massu have to try to defend here, but the first Nexus turret is about to die, and Massu's already in the dirt. Quad the last man standing, but Thanatos is on the hunt yet again. He'll finish the last kill, and for the first time in Split 2, FlyQuest is gonna fall. C9 take them down 17-5.